right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of JaaTaa. This is episode 10. We've made it to episode 10, surprisingly. Fardin, Sabir,
Yeah.
did we actually have a plan for this? We were just going with it, right?
No, it's
Yeah,
kind of just started off and yeah, crazy. Even I guess now the New Year's into 10 weeks now, which is crazy. Or actually, we started before the New Year, probably.
Before the new year.
yeah,
How
Yeah,
just
are
a
we
bit.
still in
yeah,
episode
just a
Before.
10?
bit.
What is going on?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And Sabir's been committed, although he was gone for like 2 weeks in the middle.
2 weeks, yeah. Back.
Anyways, now, what should we start with? Let's start with the Australia West Indies series for now.
Hmm.
So it was a well contested series overall, but a similar sort of a familiar batting collapse that we have seen from many teams when they're chasing big totals.
Yeah.
Sarkar, I want to start with you. West Indies, after getting that terrific start in the first ODI, where do you think they actually fell off?
ODI or T20?
Sorry, T20. Brief
Yeah,
slip of tongue there.
yeah. I think they did pretty well in all the three T20 internationals, considering their squad. They don't play as much together as the other teams have. Like they have their players in the franchise leagues, but then again they came to Australia and they scored like 200 plus in all the three games. I thought the games were competitive to a certain point, but then Australia showed their dominance at home and then got over the line. But I think with every game, they had more composure. They were getting closer, and even though the margin might not say it, like if you look at the 30-20 international, even after they were 5 wickets down, they didn't back down. Right, Russell and Rutherford, they went all out and then hoisted the target to over 200, which was beyond Australia.
Yeah.
So I think this shows that West Indies, as always, are a very unpredictable side, especially in T20s. I can even say predictable side because they always come up with these big wins and these big scores with their big muscular players. So, yeah, I think they've done very well in the T20 international series, even though they have lost.
It was very
I
close.
think,
Like you could have. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
yeah, no, you add your point. I'm just going to ask you something about a very specific cricketer.
Yeah, no, I thought they had a very good chance of actually winning this series. The first game should have gone their way. I think they just faltered off at the end, and then the second game, same thing. They just lost those crucial moments, and like Shagor said, that they have this ability to post these big totals, and given the kind of squad they have for the T20I side now, I would say under Darren Sammy, that's a very threatening squad still. If they can put on these performances like they did in that third T20I, so it'll be interesting to see where this squad goes from here, especially leading up to the World Cup.
I wanted to ask you about David Warner in particular, sort of making his international comeback in a sense that, now he is unofficially retired from ODIs and officially retired from tests,
Yeah,
only playing the T20s for the T20 World Cup that's coming in June. Very good start to the series for him, getting the man of the match with that 70.
yeah. So this was his last T20I series at home. He's basically
Last international game at home.
intern. Yeah, at home. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So he's gonna play until the World Cup, but I think Warner looks free. He's not like worried about finishing a certain way, or he's not worried about his place anymore because he knows that they'll play him till the World Cup regardless of what it is. Right? He has that much credit in the bank after all these years in the international setup, and some might say that that's not really fair, right? Like Matthew Short and some of these guys really putting up performances. Is it fair to give him that run? But I think given his record, he's earned that, and as we saw in this series, he still got it to do it at the highest level. So yeah, he's gonna enjoy franchise cricket after June for a couple more years. But I think Australia lost out on David Warner, the captain, after that lifetime ban that they handed him after 2018. So yeah.
I mean, in fairness, it didn't really cost them any ICC trophy for that matter.
ICC trophies. Yeah,
They won
yeah,
one in all three formats after that, so
yeah.
it didn't
So
really matter too much.
yeah, it didn't. Yeah, and now Mitchell Marsh looks like he pretty much belongs in that role. So yeah, Zampa looks a
Speaking
little
of which,
off though.
Agor, Mitchell Marsh, the captain, how impressive was he?
Yeah, I think he has some experience of leadership from his state as well, Western Australia, and then rising up the ranks. Even in the Australia side, I think he was in that core, even though he wasn't the official captain or the vice captain, but he was always in that, the brains of the team. And right now, he has become more experienced with each and every year. And I think he has looked pretty composed, pretty good with his bowling changes and field setting, and also giving chances to the younger guys like Bartlett, and taking Fraser McGurk in the squad, even though he didn't play, but still
Yeah, just being around.
yeah, being around the squad.
Yeah,
So I think very on point this selection for Mitchell Marsh, which frees up other players, the senior players like Warner, Smith, Hazelwood, Stark.
yeah.
I think Australia are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the World Cup.
Aren't Stoinis' batting completely falling off and him keeping himself relevant in the side with his bowling? Is that a bit strange?
I think with that 30-20 where they I think dropped him, right?
No, he
Uh,
had a bad
he,
back.
a bad back, yeah.
Bad back.
So I think it might end up being one of those situations where you lose your spot because of injury, and then you just
Someone
find
takes
it
it,
really
right?
hard.
Someone,
Someone
yeah.
takes it, yeah. That's what I was thinking, just like watching the match during the game, because throughout the whole series, Tim David was really good in that finishing position. Aaron Hardy only scored 16 runs at number 3, but he's a like for Marcus Stoinis. And if Aaron Hardy is able to bat 3 and bowl those overs, then you don't even have to play Steve Smith sometimes in that situation, because you'll have Warner, Inglis, Hardy, Marsh, Maxwell, Tim David. It's a power pack lineup, right? So even Steve Smith finds it hard to get into that lineup. So I think with Stoinis, he's been falling off for a couple of years now, but he's kept himself relevant with those odd knocks here and there, which he doesn't even get a 50. He'll get a 30 of like 13 balls, 14 balls, and then he'll pick up 2 wickets, because he's still a good bowler for like death overs with his change of pace and things like that. But I think Cameron Green lost his spot at the Ashes when Mitch Marsh came back and scored those runs. So now, when Australia and New Zealand have that T20I series, if by any chance Stoinis doesn't play that for his game and Hardy gets a 50, might be a case of, wait your turn again, buddy.
Who do you guys want to see open for Australia?
I like Inglis and Warner, but I think Mitch Marsh at 3 is better than Mitch Marsh as opener. Shagur?
Yeah, I agree. I think English and Warner would be a destructive combo, and
Yeah.
like English showed it, right? That I think in the ODI or in one of the T20 games, he opened the batting and he just
Yeah,
smacked
in
it.
one of the ODIs he opened it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and they chased. I think he was there, right? They chased it in 6 overs.
yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
one where they, yeah,
yeah, chased 90 or something in
yeah,
6 overs, seven
yeah.
overs. So yeah, I think English and Warner is a good combo for me. And as you say, Mitch Marsh at 3, and then you have all those batsmen coming down: Stoinis, Hardy, Maxwell, power pack lineup.
Before we move on to the West Indies, is Glenn Maxwell the best T20I cricketer of his generation?
Bro, this guy's crazy. He wasn't even supposed to play this game. Man woke up in the morning feeling like he's gonna score 100 that day. Told the selectors, "Yo, drop Hardy, play me. I wanna play. I feel like I'm getting 100 today." Man actually walks out, gets 120 like it's nothing. I mean, this guy's having, since his golf mishap where he broke his leg, and then he came back after that. It's like, a lot of players talk about how they find a new lease of life after like a loss of form or something where it frees them up completely, and they're like, man, whatever happens happens from now on, whatever, I'm just gonna enjoy my cricket. I feel like he's kind of had that. And like I remember when RCB picked him up in the auction for 2022 or 2021, 2022 maybe. um, Mike Hassan mentioned that yes, Maxwell only gets middling runs, but he gets it at 140, which is enough for me because I only see him batting like 12 to 14 overs. But now he's become that player where even if he comes in at 8, you can trust him to bat till 20 and he will change the game by himself. So I think top two T20 player all time.
Who is the top?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I find it hard to call someone the top for player for that format because there's always someone who will come along and just have a really big purple patch. But I think like
Maybe Chris Gale, just for the
maybe
sheer
yeah,
impact he's had overall.
yeah.
Bravo, Pollard. Where
But
do you guys
yeah,
rank them?
They're up there, but I don't see them at that top three at least.
you know who's like Warner makes a big case for himself too.
Big case for himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So and plus yeah. So
Warner won everything, literally
everything.
everything
Yeah. Yeah.
Rashid Khan.
in T20.
Rashid
Hasn't
Khan's.
done enough at
You
the
know.
highest level in international cricket yet, if
Yeah.
you think about it.
Oh, just talking internationals. Okay.
No, we're talking
He-
everything combined. Like
Oh,
Everything.
okay. Yeah, I mean, he still has years
he
to go.
has that. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
still like
Like
Yeah, yeah,
22.
he can still
absolutely.
catch up
He's
to
still
all these guys.
22.
And we'd
Yeah.
want to see that. Don't get us wrong. We absolutely do want to see that, but he
Yeah.
Uh,
hasn't done it yet. So
yeah,
it'll be
you're right.
interesting to
He
see how
still
they go.
has at least, I think, a good 5, 6 years at least in
Yeah.
the international side. Yeah.
Rashid
Then
Khan.
Xavier
anything
Bartlett
else before?
continuing his great form from the ODI
Yo, he
side.
looks so good. He
Yeah.
actually looks really good with the like his pace is a Hazelwood 5 years ago kind of pace, but he gets a lot of swing, which is I think even like in modern day white ball cricket, getting that much swing in white ball cricket became a very rare commodity. Like you wouldn't see it as much, but for him to swing the white ball so much is good to see, and it's kind of good that they're giving all these young guys a chance. For years you've been saying Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins, and Josh Hazelwood, and that's not to say they're not good, but I think in T20 eyes, you need to be a little more flexible, or at least in white ball cricket, you need to be a little more flexible with your options because some guys can go around the park for like 70 one day, and he needs a rest at that point, and you need to have backup options you can rely on. So, Berendorf, Bartlett, good options to have.
Spencer Johnson.
Yeah.
Berndorf sort of came in as, Australia's leading T20I bowler for the last year and a half, and
Hmm.
then he doesn't have the best of series. I know it's just one series, it was super high scoring, so not judging him on that, but will the selectors be just a little worried?
I think they didn't pick Spencer Johnson at the start of the series, and then they brought him into the squad because Hazelwood wasn't playing and this, that. So that tells me that Berendorf is probably still first choice at this point, and they probably give him a bit more longer run. And then, you know, there's still 6 months. There's an IPL in the middle. A lot of things can change at that time.
Who is he playing for? Brendorf.
Mumbai Indians, I think.
That's been his franchise from the beginning,
Yeah.
much.
So, yeah. But Zampa, what are you guys' thoughts on Zampa's form?
I think he did pretty well in the first two games, actually. Like
Yeah, and then I think there was one ODI he went for a few runs, but then he has these odd games that he's going
Yeah.
for a lot of runs. But I mean,
But there's no
there's
backup
no
option for him,
replacement.
right?
There's
So
no
he has to
replacement.
play.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no
he has to
replacement.
play.
You have to play Ashton Agar, and I don't know if you want to play Ashton Agar.
Yeah, Zampa, despite going for runs in the third game, he was basically the architect behind the victory in the first T20, I think.
Yeah,
So it kind of makes up
Yeah.
for it anyway. leg
Mitchell
spinners are going to
Marsh.
have the odd
Mitchell
expensive
Marsh
player.
said he's the most important player in the T20I side.
I agree.
Yeah.
He's a wicket taker, and like against sides like West Indies, like even Russell had a couple of very close calls at the boundary line, right? Like
Yeah.
some balls
Yeah.
just going for six.
Just
So
carry
yeah,
body
some
power.
days you get hit for 60 in your 4 overs, other days you pick up wickets. So I think it's
And
yeah.
we know
Alamin
how
would know.
important he is. Overall, in the white ball setup, Zampa is still irreplaceable. We saw that in the ODI World Cup as well.
Yeah.
So hope they do find a replacement for him in due time. But for now, he's a constant, and unless some terrible injury happens, we hope not. He's going to be a regular in that side, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any backup spinner that they should take to the West Indies?
Um,
Agar.
left field called Todd Murphy maybe, because he spins the ball and those wickets are a little lower and lower. Swepson hasn't really come on that well, that they would have liked, and so I think Australia's spin stocks are quite low, and they might just face a situation where they just pick Chris Green because of his experience in the West Indies.
That's true. That's true.
So
Hmm.
and
Agar
he and
also
he
had a decent time there a couple of years ago,
and he
the
won a
2021 tour.
CPL as captain for Guyana Amazon Warriors. So
Yeah, he has experience in the Caribbean.
yeah, so that might play in his favor depending on it. So
Both decent options. And with Green, yeah, I guess Green offers a bit more with the ball, and that's what you need right now more than anything else.
yeah,
You don't really need another
just
all-rounder
just
right there.
just that backup option just in case. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, now let's come to the West Indies. First takeaway, Andre Russell is properly up and running for now. They'll hope that that remains the case at
Yeah.
least up until this
Bro
June.
took a liking to Spencer Johnson in that last game. I was like, okay,
He was hit on the helmet,
helmet, yeah,
and then he's like, "I'll carry on," and then he smoked everyone out of the park.
yeah. That's what happens. But I think he looks good. He's looking fitter. I think he looked a little bit slower here and there, in recent times, but he seems to be back in shape, hitting the ball hard, as we know. And every IPL, the criticism is that Russell plays on reputation, doesn't really perform, gives you that one or two games here and there, and lackluster elsewhere. So I don't know. West Indies squad's looking pretty tight, to be honest.
Sharfin Rutherford making a good case for himself, especially with that 30-20. Shagor?
I think he has nailed his spot for the T20 World Cup, Sharfin Rutherford. But one person I'd be very interested in is Roston Chase. He was given a go in the third game, and he
He did
completely
really
changed
well.
the game. In a high-scoring game, he just gave, I think, 4 runs per over in his 4 overs. He picked up like 3 wickets.
Yeah.
But more importantly, in the wickets that they'll face in the Caribbean and the USA, I think Roston Chase kind of all-rounder is very valuable, very experienced off spinner. He can tong the ball as well.
Yeah.
I think very interested if
Smack the ball.
picked.
Spank the ball.
Let Alvi come, then I'll use those words.
Honestly, as long as Darren Sammy and Rovman Powell figure out how to use Roston Chase properly. That was the problem in 2021 when they suddenly selected him for the T20 World Cup based on some CPL performances. Pollard just didn't know what to do with him at the time, and that was the problem. Hope they figure that out. Anyways,
How does Johnson
moving on.
Charles fit in for you guys?
That was the topic. So, who do you think they should open with, given that they've tried all three openers sort of in rotation?
Yeah.
I think Charles played all 3 games.
Yeah,
Brandon
all 3
King played
games.
2 games, and then Mayers played the 1
Myers.
game. Yeah, the thing with Myers is that he can bowl as well if you need, but then the other 2 don't really bowl, Johnson Charles or Brandon King. So I think for me,
And
Johnson.
someone needs to find Johnson Charles for this shit he does where he puts his chin strap for his helmet behind his head. Like, what
Yeah,
is this? Are we
I
playing
think
village cricket?
for me it will be Johnson Charles for sure, and then depending on the pitch, if you need another seam bowling all rounder, Kyle Mayers. But then Johnson Charles, just because of his free flowing ability, if you saw some sixes that he hit against Australia, he doesn't care. He just goes for it. So you need that kind of player up top who just
Yeah,
goes for it and puts the opposition under pressure in the bar play. Because Shea Hope, if he plays, and then Brandon King, these two take some time to get in, right?
yeah.
Even Roston Chase. So if you have someone explosive at the top, I think that would be a good thing.
And it also helps that him and Russell were both part of the two T20 World Cup winning squads, both in 2012 and 2016. So that
Yeah.
definitely helps.
Crazy, man. Johnson Charles' longevity is like, it doesn't seem like he's been
He
playing that long, but he has
he was
been in the
forgotten.
squad. Yeah, he's been in the West Indies setup for quite a long time.
Quite a long time. They use him very sporadically. Even in ODIs, they bring him in every now and then. It's just used sporadically,
I
randomly
think
here
what
and there.
helped him was that last CPL, he actually played like he wanted to play cricket and not come and smack the ball and like get out for like 15 runs every game. But like, man, I just wish Raheem Cornwall could play because it would be like so good. At in the CPL, this guy is either like a hit or miss, but when he goes off, it just like goes off so well. But I mean, it's unrealistic, obviously, given the nature of international sport now. But 10 years ago, this would have been so realistic.
And the fact that they have three openers to select from,
Yeah,
and
and
you know,
Shai Hope could
Cornwall is
open
an
too
opener.
if needed,
I hope
right?
would open too.
And then that will
That's it.
let.
That's an interesting thing. Like, I hope they're trying to properly slot him into the middle now of 4 or 5, find a role for him. What do you think is the best role for him? Should he even feature regularly in the T20 side?
It's something like Steve Smith is for Australia right now for me, because you have so many options. Even though Shai Hope is an international, like, he's been in the circuit for a long, long time. But then in West Indies lineup, I think there are so many options that Shai Hope might not fit into the 11. Let's hear what Fardin has to say. I don't see Shai Hope's like in the side regularly, given that we have already talked about the three openers, and like Mayers or Brandon King can bat number three as well if needed.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think even though Shai Hope has kind of expanded his game where he's become a lot more six hitter, a lot more boundary hitter in the past 12 months or so, I think, if you're in a crunch game where you need to win 2 out of your 3 games in a World Cup stage, right? You got your group and you need to win like 2 games minimum. You're almost thinking impact players and you're thinking, I'm going Charles, King, Myers, Puran, Russell, Rutherford,
Rutherford, yeah,
Shepard, right?
Holder.
And Holder. Yeah. So now you're like, I have 8 options. Do I really need a conservative batter? And that's
Chase, throwing Chase with
throw
his
in
spin,
Chase and then
with his
throw
off
in
spin.
Chase with his spin,
Yeah,
right? That's 9 we just named, and you have to fit those 9 probably into 8 slots or 7 slots sometimes. So I think what Chagar said is right, that which I hope it might be a situation of if 2 3 guys of these impact players are a little bit off form, they might think, okay, let's spread out these guys and put Shea in the middle there so that they can bat around him and he kind of anchors the innings here, where he scores 50 of 35, 50 of 40, and everyone else kind of has that luxury to go off around him.
And he can also change gears according to the circumstances.
Yeah,
We've seen him do that.
yeah, yeah. No, it's. I think he's definitely become a more versatile batter in the last 12 months or so. And Nikhil Uttam Chandani did a video where he talked about how um, Shai Hope basically expanded his range of shots, and we saw that in the England and West Indies T20I series that has had late last year, right, where he was hitting the ball to all parts of the ground.
hmm.
But this is where it comes in because Steve Smith can open in a T20 too, but are you gonna go Steve Smith or are you gonna go Mitch Marsh and David Warner? It's like one of those cases where you kind of have to assess it game by game, and more often than not, he's good enough to be walking into 8 out of 15 world national team sides. But then with the squad that West Indies has, it's like tough.
So Nicholas Puran sort of having an underperforming series, and that's fine. He's a T20 regular anyway. We know what he's capable of. He's gonna make it to any team's T20 World Cup squad without a doubt. But again, similar question to Sheikh. What position do you give him? Do you stick him again at number 3, or do you try to
I
slot
didn't even
him much
mention
lower?
Rovman Powell when I talked about it.
Yeah.
And he's the
He's the
captain.
captain.
That's 10
Yeah.
guys.
Nicholas Puran, I'm not sure where he wants to bat. If it's at 3, I think they should give him a longer rope at 3 because he's a proven performer.
Yeah.
So at this point, I don't think they should tinker if it's not needed, just based on 1 or 2 series, because Puran, as you mentioned, is a class player and he's a T20 gun player, right? Playing all over the world. So I think wherever he feels comfortable, he should bat, because the other players are very much flexible. Because like Powell, Russell, Shepherd, Rutherford, they can float around any place and just hit the ball. But Puran, he hits, but he's also a classical player. Like if he shots over
Yeah.
cover, he hits them for 6. So he's a proper batsman who can also hit big 6s. So I think if number 3 is his preference, he should be given a longer rope till the World Cup at least.
Yeah, because we've seen him around the world. Like when Puran gets going, it's game over for the other
Bonkers.
team. And it's just I think I would bat him at 3 because he's probably your most impactful player, and you want to give him the most amount of deliveries, and sometimes that's 119 legal balls, right? Someone gets out for his ball, he comes in, he has 119 deliveries to play with. So yeah, give him number 3, let him play till the World Cup at number 3 at least, and see how it goes.
Coming into the bowlers now, this feels weird to say. Jason Holder rediscovering himself again in the shortest format of all places.
This
He's
is
now
the
West Indies
power
leading
of
bowler.
this is the power of Rajasthan Royals Cricket Academy. He skipped all that test matches and whatnot to train at the Rajasthan Royals Cricket Academy. I think the Royals even let him go, maybe. They didn't retain him, I think.
After what happened last season, they probably shouldn't. He
Yeah, so
single-handedly let go of a game against Mumbai and Tim David.
but I think if you a lot of people question why is Holder stepping away from ODI and Test cricket for the time being. He said he wanted to focus on T20 cricket and whatnot, and you kind of see it in his game now, where he's become that clutch player that we talk about. Coming in and bowling those 4 overs where he's had real impact, and then with the bat too. Sometimes you can bat him at 6, sometimes you can bat him at 8, and he'll still do that role for you. So. Sagar, thoughts on Holder?
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, he's rediscovering his form at the back end of his career. One thing I'm just concerned is his batting position. Like in the, I think second T20 international, they needed a lot of runs in the last 5 overs, but then Holder came to bat number 8 or number 9, I think.
Yeah.
And then he actually hit some good shots. He scored like I think 25 or something.
Yeah.
He was middling it. So I think.
He batted at 9 and he scored 28 of 16. Yeah.
Crazy, right? So I think. It's a dilemma, but it's a good headache for the West Indies. And Holder for sure, I think, nailed down a spot in the World Cup. Like even not the squad, the 11. The versatility that he brings, as Pathum mentioned, he can bat number 6, number 9. He can bat anywhere, and he can give you those 3-4 overs that you need, especially at the depth. I know he goes for some runs sometimes,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Adam Zampa, like he goes for 50s, 60s. But then
Half
most of the time,
centuries.
yeah, but most of the time he's quite reliable with the ball.
Is that all for the West Indies, or is there anything we're missing right now?
I
Because
just
there's
want
not
to
too much to talk about
mention,
the bowlers, given how high scoring the series was.
yeah, I just want to mention one thing about Shimron Hetmeyer. Do you guys want to see him in the squad? I know he's
No,
not in the plans.
no,
No,
no.
no, not because he's a bad player, but because this drama, it's just
This
annoying at this
back and forth antics of Hitmar is gonna play, Hitmar is available, Hitmar is not available, or Hitmar wants to
Is it?
cry
Is it?
right
Is it?
now.
What it's been three times already that he's been to the airport and then come back, something like that.
Yeah.
What is this,
Someone
man?
has to fill Alvi's role. So is it something we can compare it with Tamim's retirement and then unretirement and opting out of the World Cup and
No,
then
but you
skipping
think
the
about
central
it. Like, if
contract?
the Bangladeshi media got involved in this whole Hitmire situation, or even the Indian media or the Pakistani media, that would have been like 50 times worse, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. Because I think they've given him a long rope. They've even tried to disregard all his performances in league cricket and everything. They've tried to basically say, you know, you come and do a job, let's see what happens, irrespective of how you're playing around the world. It's just not like that England series was very disappointing, and I think you kind of realize that he's done his due diligence for now or time for now, and then down the road, if there's an opportunity, it might happen. But yeah,
It's really disappointing. He went from being this three format prospect to basically nothing all of a sudden.
under 2016 under 19 World Cup
Wasted.
captain. But yeah, I mean, they man catted Zimbabwe to going all the way to the final, and now Kimo Paul and him are both out of the series. So,
At least those two got to do something. Shamar Springer
oh, Shamar Springer.
disappeared from the face of the earth. I mean,
Yes.
but after that, he just didn't get a proper go even at the
Nothing.
CPL.
Yeah, yeah. We got our boy
Alvi
in it
Islam joins us.
with a fresh fade. With a
Yes, Prabhu.
halal po chashma
All right,
dekha.
we've been joined by Alvi Islam. By the shades, you can tell he's in Australia. It's daytime there. No, Alvi, we're going to start discussing the Sri Lanka Afghanistan game. Just wanted to get a little bit of your input. Pathum Nissanka getting a double century. Sri Lanka now officially have their first double century.
It's because they've backed him and they trusted in him for a long time now. I think I remember seeing him for the first time in the 2021 T20 World Cup, and he showed some promise, but he was still, I'd say, he was still a work in progress at the time. But they've backed him through and through, and it's been almost 3 years now, and we started seeing the best of him in the Asia Cup before the World Cup last year, and now he's sort of come into his own, where he's hit his strides, he's found his rhythm in international cricket, and for him, I think he just goes forward.
Shagor Fardin, your inputs on this double century?
I mean, honestly, probably one of his most clinical innings I have seen in his career till now. And Sri Lanka's given him a long, long run. Chandika Hathurasinghe tried to take credit for bringing this guy into the national team, which was not his credit at all, but whatever. That's a whole different point. Uh, you know, with Pathum Nissanka, you can see the talents there. It's similar to what Kusal Mendes was at the start of his career. He was this really big run scorer in all formats of the game, and then he fell off. I think Nissanka's kind of gone the other way, where he looks really good. He gets these 50s, gets these 60s, gets these 80s, but then he finds a way to get out. And he still has like good innings and he still has a good record till now, if you think about it. But he never had that impactful innings that really changed the course of a game for the team. And this double hundred was, I mean, it was explosive. 24s, I think, maybe 10 sixes or something like that. Uh, Strike rate was probably around 150, 160. So, yeah, I mean, 210 red ink in a 50 over game is never bad, and yeah, just outshone everyone. And it was too good for even Azmatullah Omarzai and Muhammad Nabi both getting hundreds. So that tells you a lot.
Yeah, just on that, I was gonna say Omarzai has sort of he's hit a new level of being the fast bowling all rounder since the World Cup. He's had a great World Cup, and now following on from that, he's becoming unbeatable in a way where he will deliver for you on the day whenever you need him. Whether he gets you across the line is a different issue, but he's always stepping up to the plate and putting his hand up for his team. So I think Omarzai for Afghanistan for the past, let's say, 6, 7 months has been an amazing find.
Sagar Asalanka is taking his game to the next level every week almost at this point.
Vice captain.
Asalanka has been looking good for a long time. He has shown glimpses of his, talent. In the World Cup also, there were some innings where he looked really solid, but Sri Lanka as a whole didn't perform as expected. But Asalanka has been batting really well. And also, one thing I would like to mention that he said was that they asked the cricket board to produce good batting pitches because they were struggling in India to score 300. But then, as this series showed, a good batting pitch can go a long way in boosting the batter's confidence. And as you can see, Nissanka, Asalanka, all
Samara
these new guys,
Vikrama.
Samar Vikrama, I think Lianage, there's
Yeah,
a new guy.
Liange. Yeah,
Yeah,
Liange. Janit
all these
Liange.
guys, getting some runs under their belt, even though if it's like it's against Afghanistan. But
Yeah.
then now they're more confident that they can score the big 300s, which will help them in the future ICC events for sure.
Sri Lanka getting bold enough to make those batting friendly wickets against Afghanistan, especially when Rashid Khan isn't available. And without Rashid Khan, Afghanistan bowling attack just looking a bit too toothless, Fardin.
Yeah, I think with their spinners or with the 11 that they have, Noor Ahmed and Case Ahmed especially is super hit or miss. He'll have a really good game or he'll just have a really shitty series. There's like no in between. And with Rashid Khan not being there, it just makes their spin attack a lot less reliable, and it becomes a lot of pressure. I guess too much pressure for Omarzai, Farooqi, and Nabi, and to some extent Gulbadin Naib. Even though he's gone for some runs here and there, I think just for those three guys, they have to shoulder a lot of the burden, and that's not there's nowhere to hide in a 50 over game, right? In a T20, you can hide sometimes where if you go for a bad over here, there, usually have 6, 7 options and you can, cover up for it. But, in a 10 over spell, there's nowhere to hide.
Muji was missing as well, so
Yeah,
he
Mujib's
usually opens the
missing.
bowling.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah, Rashid and Mujib, without them, Afghanistan's attack is really mediocre.
and that's why we saw they went for 300 plus now, both games. And Janik Liange came in at what, 7 or 8 and got a quick 52. So, yeah.
In the first ODI, Afghanistan lost their first 5 wickets for only 55 runs. In the
Yeah.
second ODI, they
They
lost
went
their last 9 wickets within a space of 25
10,
runs.
10, 25 runs.
These
Yeah.
are the batting collapses which are costing them again and again. And we've seen this with a lot of growing teams. We saw this previously with Zimbabwe, with Bangladesh. It's not something that's new, but
Yeah.
how do they get rid of this problem?
I think it's a mixture of understanding that they don't need to keep going after it. Just because the target is high or because the target is, you know, more than 6 runs and over or whatever it is, doesn't mean you have to always keep going after it. They have to remember that their squad or their batting lineup is well capable of scoring 150 in the last 14 overs, right? If some of those guys stay there, some of those guys really have a good finishing touch to it, they can score that. So sometimes for Afghanistan, it's a very big mixture of balancing aggression with finesse kind of a thing. And, you get a good start, you get the kind of partnership Ibrahim Zadran and, Ramit Shah had that. Ibrahim Zadran and Ramit Shah had that day, and you kind of have to just rebuild after those two get out, and that's how good ODI teams perform. We saw that at the World Cup that they were doing a rebuild, but it happens that these odd games here and there they just absolutely collapse completely. And when Rashid's not there, that experience factor is also lacking, and you could say it hurts the squad when some of that experience is out, especially in a smaller team.
Speaking of
8 wickets
experience
in
You were saying
10
factor,
with
runs.
Rashid and
Huh?
Alvi, you were saying something?
It's like a
yeah, like
four-way
you were
stop
saying with
sign.
Rashid
Everyone's
and
talking
Mujib.
at the same time. Sorry.
The freaking guys, bro. Someone
Now,
speak.
Sagar people,
Bro, this guy's internet's clocking out. No, he's there. Hello, please
But
continue.
speaking of that whole
now I'm here.
experience
Just
factor,
somebody else is speaking, so go ahead.
Mohammad Nabi and that innings that he played, and you know, every time the topic of Mohammad Nabi getting too old for international cricket comes up, he does something like this.
That's Shagar's favorite player. It's what he calls his boy.
Mohammad Nabi, when
And
did I call him my boy?
Bro,
No, I mean, during that partnership,
Whoever does well, this becomes Sagar's boy.
so Omarzai and Nabi, I think Nabi showed his experience in that partnership a lot, and some of the shots he hit, we usually see those shots during the franchise leagues that he plays, the big lofty strikes, and I think because their backs were against the wall, that's why
yeah,
Nabi could produce an innings like that. It was only his second 100 in about 150 ODI games, even though he's a good batsman, no doubt. But then what I'm trying to say is that he had a lot of time to score those runs, as well as they were chasing nearly 400, 382, I think.
yeah,
So he had that, you know, license to go for the shots, which he is very comfortable with, as we see in the T20 leagues where he bats lower down the order, 5 overs left. He just goes there and hits. So all shots he tried, he pulled off. Thankfully, maybe some chances here and there, but then Nabi showing his class at the end. I think he could have scored 150 plus, but then he was trying to go for the target at the last
yeah,
in the last 5 overs and gave his wicket away.
yeah.
Brilliant now.
boys, before we get into the very exciting South Africa versus New Zealand game that's going on, a touch up on Canada versus Nepal. Canada playing their first
Oh,
ODI series in a very, very long time.
yeah. Yeah, this is what Canada's first ODI series as part of the new ODI cycle that started this year. Canada got their ODI status last year as part of this new cycle, and yeah, not the brightest of series to start with. Nepal wasn't really playing their best 11 too. They were giving a lot of their young guys chances. Some of the under 19 guys that did well were also getting their chances. Um, but yeah, for in terms of Canada, I think it hurts to say this, and it's not the best way to say. There's no better way to say this. Some guys were really playing for their spots as soon as they realized that they're not going to win the series. People started, scoring at a slower rate. People started bowling defensively, and yeah, it's not ideal heading into Canada's first time at the T20 World Cup this year. They don't have that much preparation with T20I cricket either, because they also have an ODI series coming up next month or this month, towards the end of this month and into early March. So not ideal, but Nepal looks good. Nepal's got a lot of good talent coming up, and the fans in Nepal are crazy. Every game was filled completely. But yeah, Shagar, thoughts?
Yeah, I think Nepal are a very strong side with more games against even teams like Canada.
Yeah,
They are being exposed to more ODI international cricket, right? Like one day international cricket, which shows how far they have come. If you look at all the games, Nepal were in spots of bother in some of the like
Yeah,
phases of the game.
yeah.
Last game in the third ODI, they stitched I think almost 200 run partnership after being like one or two down, very one down. I think very
One down very
yeah,
early.
very early. Also in the first ODIs, there were like scenarios like this where they lost a couple of quick wickets,
Yeah,
but then they recovered really well. They are showing that they're growing as a ODI team and they know how to build an innings. It
yeah,
would be very interesting to see Nepal versus some of the other developing teams like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. No, see, in all
yeah,
seriousness, it should be a competitive game,
yeah,
especially in Nepal. In Nepal, in the SSA circuit, it's known as the kind of a fortress because
yeah.
they very rarely lose in their home grounds.
Hmm.
So it's very exciting from a neutral fan's point of view to see Nepal growing as a ODI nation.
Yeah. No, Canada, I think, uh, will need to sort out their batting and bowling uh, in patches because they gave debut to a couple of new guys who didn't look absolutely ready for the international stage. It looked like Nepal were targeting some of these guys particularly. Ishwarjit Sohi looked good in patches. Uday Bhagwan had a good spell in the first game, but then the next two games he got sent all over the park. Um, and then yeah, with the batting, Navneet Dhaliwal got a 50, but he just got out right after getting to a 50, just threw his wicket away. Mm. And yeah, some of these other guys scored some. Shreyas Mova looks like he's in good form and he's playing very freely. But yeah, Canada will need guys to play for the team more than play for spots. And you know, the cricket circle in Canada is super small. If you take it into account, and end of the day, a lot of it comes down to Facebook posts and stuff. So yeah,
Sagar, a bit of word on Aaron Johnson, someone you've worked with closely.
his boy.
I've seen Aaron Johnson very closely while I was umpiring. I umpired many of his games in the British Columbia Mainland Cricket League, where he plays for Centurions Club. He averages more than 70 runs in there. Like he played like 50 games, ODI, like one day games, and he averages like 70. So in one of the games I was umpiring, he was late to the game, so he usually opens the batting, but then he came like half an hour late, and his side were 3 wickets down already in the half an hour, and they were playing against Uday Bhagwan's team, right? So Aaron Johnson came into bat number 5, nonchalantly hit the first ball of a spinner straight for 6 over mid off, and he scored just the small matter of 170 runs
A small matter.
to set up a target of more than 300. But then Uday Bhagwan, even though he is primarily a bowling all rounder in the national team for now, but he bats like top of the order for his club, Surrey Hawks.
Yeah,
So he played a very good innings. He, along with Gurneek Johal, Canada under 19 player,
yeah,
both of them stitched about 150 run partnership. But then 300 runs was a bridge too far. But yeah, it was a very good experience watching the future international ODI players from such close range. So yeah, but in national team also, I think AJ is doing well in the T20 internationals, but in the ODI, it looks like he's throwing his wickets away, like looking at his dismissals, going
yeah,
after short and wide balls. I think
yeah.
he should take a bit more time to settle in, and then he can cash in because he has all the skills and all the big hits.
He's
So
one of those
yeah,
players that Canada has been looking for a long,
he's a
long
very
time.
impactful player. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I know Rakimul, you saw him play firsthand in his debut series for Canada when they played against Nepal, I think, at home. That kind of like a what was it, like a practice tour or whatever. But yeah, I mean,
Unofficial one day
unofficial
tour.
one days. Yeah, but he's one of those guys Canada's been looking for that can really put pressure back on the opposition at the top of the order, and we need him to kind of keep going and perform like he does in T20Is, and that means sometimes you have to put your some you have to restrict yourself on some shots and some kind of approaches and really hone in on what you want to do and play that long innings, because if AJ is there for 85-90 deliveries, he's gonna get 120 130.
Sort of needs to play that a slightly more refined version of the Shehzad role that he used to play for Afghanistan back when
Yeah,
Afghanistan were making it up the ranks. Right
right.
now, Afghanistan don't need someone like a Mohammad Shehzad, but
Yeah,
back then they did. They
yeah.
wouldn't have a Gurbaz or an Ibrahim Zadran back then. It just wouldn't work.
So,
Yeah, yeah. No, it's that's how it is, because if your middle order is gonna be guys like Nick Kirtan, Harsh Thakur, Shreyas Movha, who are kind of a classical batters. Shreyas Movha is very versatile. Harsh, you could say, is building that versatility, but uh, with the way Canada is now, you really need Aaron Johnson to value his wicket, because you hate to see a guy like him that can have so much impact get out to third man for a top edge, or spoons it up. And with the way Srimanta's going, he's not looking the best right now. So
he was overlooked for the first two games as well.
yeah, so some guys like Dilpreet Bajwa and you could even say maybe Sahib Malhotra might come into contention there.
Pargat Singh scored 50s, I think, couple of 50s,
Yeah, yeah,
but in losing causes. So he has to. I umpired his game also. He plays in BC as well
yeah.
for Pakistan.
All these
So
you bring in all these BC guys into the national team.
maybe. So yeah, I think what you mentioned, Pardin, the players need to value their wickets and not play for themselves and their spots only. They should play according to the situation of the team.
Yeah,
And yeah, like Pargat got 50s, but the team lost. So I think he should try to make the innings longer, maybe get 100, so that they get a more decent total on the board.
yeah. No, straight up.
All right. New Zealand versus South Africa. That game has really turned out to be something exciting.
My God, Dane Piedt from USA to New Zealand, and now he has a fifer.
Just
And
5 for crazy. Against New Zealand, in New Zealand, being a spinner in
being
the
a
first
spinner.
innings.
Yeah, and
So
the amount of turn he's getting on that wicket is crazy. On day 2, he's
crazy.
turning it this much. I mean,
They've been
what do you
bowling
think
him
at a
since what,
39,
ninth
30-run
over or
lead?
something
Yeah, yeah.
in New Zealand on day 2 again. We don't get to see that every day.
No, it's a very rare thing, and this kind of shows that when Dane Piedt retired from South Africa cricket to pursue a career in US, I was very surprised, because I always thought he was there and thereabouts. And with Simon Harmer coming back to South Africa, it was always going to be harder. But I thought, he was still a very good shout to still be a part of the team. So I was surprised that he had opted to go to USA. But I think he was looking for those T20 deals and things like that, and kind of more job security in terms of cricket. But he should have not played that first test.
Sagar, before we get more into the bowling innings, Swardt getting that half century, that's what got South Africa that substantial total in the first innings.
Yeah, I think Ron Deshwart and Sean Von Berg's partnership might just be the partnership of the game, the match turning moment, because South Africa were looking down the barrel when Bellingham got out at like 120 for 5. From
Yeah.
there, the way they
No,
batted,
that's 140 for 6.
5 or 6. Yeah, 6. 5 was Peterson, 100 for
Peters.
5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But after Bellingham got out, the way that those two batters, Ruan and Sean, got together and stitched a very crucial partnership, if not, like, it was not that big. I think 110, 120 runs. but the number of overs they batted, it took a toll on the New Zealand bowlers. You can see
Yeah,
because they did not expect this South African
they were hoping to
batsman
be
to,
batting by the
yeah,
third
by the third
session. Yeah,
session, right? And
yeah,
then
yeah,
they extended it till like middle of day two per
yeah,
session. So I think, yeah, he is a very good all rounder. It seems, looking at his first class records, it looks like he's a batting all rounder.
yeah,
But I think for South Africa, he's playing more as a bowling all rounder. Looking at his bowling workload in the last game,
yeah.
but yeah, I think he's someone that South Africa can look to the future as well. As well, not only this series, but then he should be roundabout in the squad, like on the fringes.
And if he can continue contributing as this sort of batting all-rounder, he can play in tandem with Marco Jansen. Imagine playing a bowling all-rounder of Jansen's caliber
Yes,
and backing
yeah.
him up with a batting all-rounder batting at 5 or 6. That would be incredible.
That's a luxury that not many
No.
teams would have,
Yeah,
especially in South
and
African
that gives
conditions.
you your sixth bowler as basically a top order batsman, and
That's
it, I mean, how many
It
countries can
feels
say
weird
they
to say
have?
this, but that's just throwing back to the Jack Kellis days,
Oh yeah, yeah,
having
Yeah, so
Kellis,
you're playing,
Pollock, all of them in the same 11.
and then so let's say if you bring him to white ball, you're playing him, Jansen, and Koitzir all together, and you've basically got four all-rounding, quick bowling all-rounders.
yeah. I mean,
Gerald Godzi.
Yeah,
White
yeah,
ball, white ball.
white ball, he's done.
Gerald Godzi, I'm not sure about his batting credentials. I've in the World Cup mostly he batted very
and
low down the order,
At
but
nine, but he can still donk it. Like
strong it up.
he can give it a little bit of
Yeah.
breeze here and there, which
But those
doesn't
Jansen and this Rohan, they look like proper batsmen.
proper
Proper
batsman.
batsman,
Yeah.
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 I think now coming back into the bowling innings, you spoke about Pete, Dane Patterson.
Man, I was gonna ask, you think this is him basically making himself relevant again to the point that they can't drop him? How are you gonna drop him after he took a second string side? He led the bowling attack of a second string side where you thought Duane Oliver was probably gonna lead the bowling attack, but Duane Oliver did not look good at all in that
Completely
first
out of
test.
sorts in the first
Yeah,
test.
Shipo Mureki in his debut series has looked 10 times better. And Dane Patterson, I think with Dane Patterson, the thing was he went Kolpak to county cricket for a couple of years, and then Brexit happened, and but he still continued being the overseas player in county cricket for a couple many years, and you can see that that experience has really translated into his game because Mark Richardson was talking about how he really found that zone and he kept going same zone for all his spell. He did not move away from it. And that first ball to freaking Devin Conway was crazy. Like it was shaping in all the way. Conway, I think Conway thought it was gonna come in because the way Conway played it, they showed without deviation on that drift he had, it was coming top of off and Conway was covering top of off, but it just dropped and seamed out and took the edge. So I would say sometimes having these second string sides come out to play a series, you think it's gonna be a shit show. We saw with West Indies what happened. Um,
2009, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2009 West Indies when they played against Bangladesh, you saw what happened.
Even Australia
Or
recently.
even this new series that they had where the first test match, they got run over all over the place, and you thought, oh, this is a waste of time. Second test comes around, something like this happens. This series too, first test, all these guys are playing for the first time in test cricket. 6, 7 guys that doing their debut. The occasion itself is massive, whereas they're overwrought by the occasion. So, yeah. What do you think this does for? I know Bavuma's the captain, but is this where Markram kind of becomes the captain and you start giving guys like Bedingham and Zubair Hamza a bit of a longer run, or even Van Donder, who looked good for his 32? It's not a big score, but he still looked good, I thought.
I don't think the batters have done enough to challenge Bavuma like that because you know that with Bavuma, it's not just about performance, it's a
It's the
lot more than
captains.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
And he
only
has a.
captain,
I think he's
Not only
he's
unbeaten.
captains,
a
yeah, Sagar
I know.
got my drift.
No, no,
Not
no.
only
I know.
captains.
I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. But
His captaincy is good, don't get me wrong.
no, no. Keegan Peterson at six though is kind of confusing. I don't know why Keegan Peterson's
yeah. He
batting at
should bet
six.
up.
Yeah,
Peterson should bet up.
yeah. Uh,
I think besides the fact how well South Africa have bowled, if you look into New Zealand, if you look at Devon Conway and you go back to the Bangladesh series as well, can we say he's been struggling a bit for the past, 3 or 4 months? He's not been in the prolific form we were used to seeing from him, and I think this might be the first time we're seeing Devon Conway struggle at all in international cricket.
yeah,
For
he's.
sure,
How,
yeah.
Yeah.
here's the question. This 31 run lead that we're talking about so gleefully almost, how safe is this 31 run lead against a bowling attack that has oh sorry, not Bolt, Saudi, Henry, Wagner, and O'Rourke, who
Yeah,
had a pretty good first innings?
yeah. Um, it's not safe by any means, but it gives you something to start with. And I was kind of surprised that the wicketkeeper was opening the batting. I didn't think Edward
Very
Moore.
real.
Because
Moore,
they
Got out for
dropped
a
him.
golden duck.
yeah, like Edward Moore didn't look too bad, right? Like I thought he looked all right in that first test, and I was kind of surprised that he was dropped. But this is where they have to make use of it, and they have to put runs on the board now because you start 31 for zero essentially, right? You're starting 31 for zero, so runs on the board struggle.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like Edward Moore didn't do much wrong to be dropped, but anyway, Rakimul Clyde, the wicketkeeper, it was a screamer by
Yeah,
Glenn
yeah, yeah.
Phillips.
By the
He
like,
just stuck his left hand out and he got stuck in his hand.
yeah,
Otherwise, yeah, he just lasted one ball, so I would say unlucky. But yeah, 31 for no loss. I think the top order needs to get the runs, like unlike the first innings, because usually in New Zealand, what we hear is that days, the pitch gets flatter as the days go on, unlike
yeah,
in the subcontinent. So I think the best day to bat would be day three and first two sessions of day four. So
hmm,
South African batters should cash in and post a big lead, and the top order batsmen should
make them
contribute.
chase 300 plus, right?
Yeah,
Like
must.
must, yeah.
As someone would say, must be. So 350 would challenge this New Zealand side because there's a lot of spin on offer for Pete, and they have a leggy as well. And given the discipline of Patterson and Shepo, I think it would be a good contest. Anything of 300 would be great.
Yeah.
Final words on this New Zealand South Africa game before we move on to a very interesting topic that's awaiting
Conway
us.
needs runs. Conway needs runs. Ravindra doesn't need runs, but Ravindra needs a 50, I would say.
He needs
Just
consistency.
yeah, yeah. You know what I
Will
mean? Like
O'Rourke 4 wickets on debut?
O'Rourke, I thought Josh Clarkson looked better than O'Rourke, but I feel like they're going with Josh Clarkson as more of a white ball kind of a player, and they've gone and decided O'Rourke is like kind of their backup test bowler because um, Jameson got rested for this test, I think, and Wagner is also playing. Are you surprised, Rakimul, by Wagner kind of getting dropped for that first game? His role seems to have really decreased in the past few months.
I think that they're afraid of letting him go, but they also don't see him as this regular option anymore. It's
Yeah,
hard to make a 37-year-old a regular fast bowling option in any test side. I think
yeah,
that that's the case with Wagner right now.
Unless you're James Anderson.
Yeah, even with Anderson, if you think about it, even with Anderson, they're not playing him as regularly now because they know they can't. At 41, they can't.
yeah,
With
yeah,
Wagner, it's even more difficult given that how much of his back he actually puts in with those bouncers. It gets a little more challenging. And New Zealand have an abundance of options to choose from. They
yeah,
keep producing new pacers, or some of them just keep getting lost every 5 months. That's how good their
Yeah, it's
pipeline
like
is.
a
The pacers.
factory for medium pacers.
Pretty much, yep. And
Yeah.
still people are waiting for Trent Bolt to come back. Like,
Which he
That
is
that's a
doing in that
crazy impact.
Australia series. He's coming back for the Australia series.
For the T20 internationals.
T20
Yeah,
is
yeah,
not for
yeah.
test.
Not for the test. Not for the test. No.
Maybe
It
for
would be
the
good
World
to see
Test
him in test cricket.
Championship final. Who knows?
Final, yeah.
To make it
They make it to the finals, he's gonna come, he's gonna terrorize India or whoever else they're playing against, and then he's gonna disappear again. That's what he does
for
best.
good. That
He's
time
T.
for good.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, I think we're pretty much done with this one. So we can move on to our last topic of the day, possibly, and that is the BCB making some big changes in their ranks. So, boys, big changes in the BCB after years of fans nagging for it to happen, basically, for lack of a better word.
10 years?
Nannu
No.
is out, so is Bashar.
Yeah.
What happened to Razak? He's staying
He's
around.
staying
Because he's new to the selection committee, so they were
new.
like, yeah,
New,
new,
three
new, new.
years, but
Yeah,
new.
3 years
Okay.
but new. So
Vijay,
Junior, he's still
marketplace,
a
good as
junior.
new.
no, I think they had to give him kind of a longer rope. One thing I don't like about Abdul Razak as selected is he posts too much about certain players in his personal account. And as a selector, you should not be doing that. In your public account. Like he's always posting about Rida, Lipu, these guys. And like we know these are up and coming good players, but like as a selector, you should not be putting kind of message out there. You should have a very, reserved and like a neutral kind of a stance. And but
People are
yeah,
trying to, it's supposed to try and get your attention
attention.
of
Yeah.
these players, not
Yes.
vice versa.
Night vision. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what's it called? But big changes, unexpected changes. Do you see it coming? Anyone? Alvi? Alvi?
I didn't. We always see it coming and then it doesn't happen. So sort of, I think what I was surprised by was the fact that they got Lipu. I
Hmm.
didn't expect him to come in because he's very outspoken, he's very straightforward and clear cut. So that's not what you expect from somebody who works under the BCB or somebody who's going to be working above Abdullah Singh.
Yeah.
So that's going to be good to see. It's going to be a good interaction between him and the coach. Also, we're going to see how the dynamic plays out between him and the coach and the president. If Lipu gets pissed off with the coach and he sort of moves to, chooses to move aside or resign like Farooq Ahmed did,
Yeah.
hats off to Farooq Ahmed. He came out and he said what actually happened a couple of years ago. I think last week.
Yeah.
So you need that sort of you need the moral standpoint. You need to have your values in place where you don't let boundaries cross over and you don't let the coach bully you into doing something that they want.
Yeah.
And I think
You can't
Lipu
be a
is the right
pushover in
person
this
in that.
role, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, Nannu was basically a puppet. That's why
Yeah.
he got he was chosen for the role in the first place.
Yeah.
And something that Farooq Ahmed said was that I think Nannu worked under Farooq Ahmed when he was
Yeah.
still chief
Yeah. Farooq Ahmed
selector,
was chief selector and Narnu was just selected. Yeah.
and Nannu and Farooq Ahmed said when he leaves or when he resigns or if you take him out of the equation, what he wanted to leave behind was an ideology, selection panel that would be unbiased or that would be true to the objective. But
Yeah.
the moment he left, you could sort of see that Nannu went into default mode, trying to please the president and the coach and whoever else he could please.
Yeah.
So now that we're seeing somebody who's more stern back, in the seat, as well as Hannan Sarkar, who I think has been selector for under 19 for a while now.
Yeah.
So these two guys, I think Hannan Sarkar being under 19 selector for a while now adds a new dimension because he knows the under 19 guys who are coming up and who have come up in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And so that sort of helps those guys who have a relationship with him already to be able to be more eligible, I'd say, or to bring them to the forefront and be able to cater to what they need for the national team. Whereas before you'd see guys who wouldn't even go to watch the domestic games. Now you have Hannan Sarkar who has a decent idea about the domestic games or the age level games already. Now the question is, will these guys actually go to watch the domestic games?
Yeah, no. We need our selectors and coaches to be involved with the local cricket, or else why are you at the job? And it's like we talked about a couple episodes ago. If you really wanted to pick squads of stats and stuff, anyone could do it from any
You
corner
could
of
use
the
an
world.
algorithm for that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You just need an internet connection for that. But sometimes, like you look at
That
not
would
to
automatically disqualify Alvi though.
I was gonna say that. I was just gonna say I couldn't do it.
uh, like you look at someone like Zach Crawley, he averages 30 in first class cricket. He wouldn't get in most teams if you were just picking off stats. But Ed Smith saw something in him as a selector, brought him in, scored a double hundred, and everyone knew this guy has something in him. And we can see that in India now. So yeah, I'm not to go on a different tangent, but that's what the role of a selector is. Sometimes that's how Shadman Islam came in, right? When Steve Rhodes was captain and he saw him play in a practice game against West Indies in 2018.
Steve Rhodes was coach, you mean?
Coach, yeah, Steve Rhodes as coach. He saw him on the spot and he's like, I want this guy in my team. So sometimes that's how you pick players.
Shagor, we're not going to talk too much about the newly appointed selectors because we don't want to praise them or criticize them based on
Yeah.
zero evidence right now. But Nazmul Hossain Shanto, the captain, this was bound to happen, right? Given Shakib's health condition and everything else, it was bound to happen.
Brother, you're
Sorry,
muted.
yeah, I think they did a good job of appointing Shanto well ahead of the T20 World Cup, which we usually don't see in Bangladesh cricket because usually there's some kind of turmoil within the leadership ranks or there's some fight between some players. And then, the dressing room scenario is not that great just before a big ICC tournament. But what they have done here is that they have, like, I'm not saying Shanto will be a great captain or Shanto will not be a very good captain. He might be a good captain or might not be. But the clear role definition that the BCB has said that Shanto, you're our three format captain. You take the leadership, you take the team forward. This is the team that we have. This is our new selectors. You work with them. Now our main focus is clearly on the T20 World Cup. Should be, even though we have like ODI games and some World Test Championship games as well. But I think this is a good choice that the BCB has made, given that we have a ICC event coming up, and Shanto will take some time to settle into his new role as all format captain. It might be a burden on him as of now because he's still relatively young compared to the other players we have.
Yeah.
But I think he's experienced enough and he has shown enough glimpses in the past few games that he is captain that he has what it takes, and you can see it in his press conferences, in his interviews, of how confident he is of taking the role, which not many players in Bangladesh cricket have
Can
been. Not
yeah.
many players have been vocal that okay, I want to take the leadership. I can. It would be better if I take it in all three formats. We've only got like Shakib speaking up like that with so much confidence.
Yeah.
I think this is a good step in the good direction for our future players as well, like the under 19 guys coming up. So yeah, this is a step in the right direction.
I think
It's just funny how he's good enough to be all format captain and just not good enough to captain Silet.
yeah,
That's BBL for you.
that's how BPL works. No, I think for me initially when he had said, and like I'm pretty honest about this. Like when he first said that he wanted to be captain in all three formats, my only thing was he's not consistent as a batter yet. How can you stake a claim on captaincy? But now last couple of days I've actually thought about it, and there's no one else. Litton Das is crying about this, that all the time, and he has a lot of excuses. He wants to do press. He talked about people doing press conferences and stuff like that, and now he's the one that's doing press conferences and is giving side talks about this, that. Anyways, so that really narrows down your options to Miraz or Shanto, and I think um, currently Shanto's the best choice. And like Shagor said, you give him that longer rope and you give him that confidence and surety of having all three formats as captain, it kind of puts him in a better place where he's able to work on his own way and really build a side on values and morals that he believes in, because that allows him to succeed as captain and build his record as captain. And that's kind of what Mashrafi did, right, when he became captain, and he had all the formats to him that he could build a side around what he believed in. And I think as captain, that's very important. It's a very big leadership skill, is if you can get everyone to buy into your mentality and your way of playing cricket. So, yeah. Surprised Shakib's playing BPL but no internationals.
I wouldn't say I'm too surprised, given. Sorry, is Alvi talking? I can't hear him.
No, no,
Oh,
no, no.
sorry. So, not too surprised given the health conditions and the kind of treatment it needs. A lot of fans, this is why a lot of fans were urging him to not play the BPL, not because they want to see him immediately after the BPL playing the Sri Lanka series, but more importantly, they want him fit and ready to go for June.
Yeah.
And the BPL does put him in a risky spot, but I just hope that he works something out because he does also need some game time. He just has to balance that out
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah. And also,
But the sort of form he's in the BPL, and then if he goes on a break, let's say if he has the surgery before the World Cup and he comes back, I feel like he's peaking too early. Like he's peaking now during the BPL when he should be peaking in about 6 months. So can he hold on to this form, especially with his batting at number three? Can he hold on to this come June?
No, but does it really work like that, given that even in the past he has had good BPLs in almost every season, and that hasn't necessarily dictated his form in international cricket?
yeah,
It's international cricket has just been different for him, whether he's been good or bad.
yeah. I
But
think
when was the last time we've seen him in as explosive form as he is right now? Given his, let's say, his recent run over the past 4 or 5 months has been they've been average at best. But then you sort of see him in this kind of form, and you think, when was the last time he was this good?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. No, it's a valid point, but I think if he does opt for treatment, whatever that might be, surgery or long form treatment, there are multiple options. Obviously, depends on what he and his medical team decides. Um, there might be a chance he doesn't even play the World Cup because of how much time it takes to recover or things like that. I don't think Shakib's want to skip a World Cup, but if it comes to a situation where he has to skip it because of treatment, it might happen. So it might be a case of he's kind of letting that dictate where he goes after the BPL, because he's also has a role now as an MP, Minister of Parliament, right? So there are a lot of things on his plate now. So it'll be interesting to see how his recovery and inclusion goes around in the next 4 or 5 months or so. But yeah, two new squads too announced for the Sri Lanka series.
Yeah, inclusion of Al Islam, which cricket was labeling as a mystery spinner. Thoughts on that?
Or as how as Amir Sohail would say, Alisur Rahman. This guy
Yeah,
is just, yeah, go on.
no, I think you guys think it's too early.
I think it's late. He should have
Yeah,
been near the national team after his first season with Dhaka.
Buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
So he couldn't
But
have played even if he
answer
wanted.
Chibia's question, if that was too early, sorry, that was definitely too early. Now, if we're still saying all these years later that it's still too quote unquote early, even though it's been 5 years since that, then it's always going to be early unless we expose him to international cricket and see whether his action actually lasts or not.
No, yeah, I know, no, 100%. I think if he goes through the BPL with anyone questioning the bowling action, then yeah, you give him the run and you see what happens. I think what really derailed his development or us getting him in that national team setup in the last 5 years is until Salahuddin took him to Masco Shakib, no one cared about the guy. for 4 years, right? Until Coach Salahuddin picked him up for Prime Bank, and until he was training at Moscow for a whole 10 months or so, no one cared about that guy, despite the fact that, he did well in his first outing in that BPL in 2019. So it's just shows how we value our players and things of that nature. But it'll be interesting to see. And if he does open the bowling, it seems like Bangladesh has kind of taken a backseat on Mehdi Hasan Miraj in T20Is for now, given that he's dropped from that squad. So I think Alice might even come in as a opening bowler now. So and then you got Sheikh Mehdi and all the other options. So
Given Miraj's recent form in the BPL, do you think BCB or the selectors who have made this team, I'm not sure if it's the old panel or the new panel, do you think they missed the trick by not playing Miraj the batsman?
tough to say because of the kind of options you have right now in the batting lineup. Because if you have someone like Mahmudullah coming back now, and he's gonna bat 6 or 7 or whatever it is.
I mean, Sheikh Mehdi plays a similar role, right?
Yeah, Sheikh Mehdi plays a similar role, very similar player, and then Tohid Rida is there, Soumya Sarkar, Shanto, Mahmudullah, Liton Das, Bijoy or Naim Sheikh's gonna play too. So it becomes too many to fit into that squad. So
If we look at the selection of Naim Sheikh, yeah, you finish.
I thought they would have waited until the Chittagong leg to see how he does in these pure tracks, and then make that call on if he gets a run or not. But I think in that same vein, if you think about it, they've also kind of trusted Bijoy's form in that first half of the BPL and kind of gone with that too. So like we had thought about in our BPL lives that we do on Facebook, that Ronnie Talukdar's form might count against him, and similarly for Afif and Shamim, it did count against them too. That not scoring runs in that first leg, at least first 3 legs, counted against them.
In thoughts about Hassan Mahmood's exclusion from both the squads?
Who wants to take it?
He's been pretty average for the past. I'd say he was okay just before the World Cup, leading up to it in the New Zealand series at home. But since the World Cup, he seemed. I'd say even since the Asia Cup, he seemed a bit off color. Since he got married, of course. But then, like I said, if you look at the squad they've given us, I don't think we have any new quick bowlers in. It's just
Shariful, Tanzim, Saqib, Taskin, Mustafiz.
Taskin, and Mustafiz.
Yeah.
I think Shariful, first of all, has made the job much easier for the selectors, because if you got Shariful and Taskin opening, and with the former Shariful is in, they've sort of got a set pair going in already, and then Saqib could be your third option. But like I was saying just a while ago, with regards to the opening, like you said, with Naim Sheikh and Bijoy back in, Naim Sheikh he's back in decent form, but we've seen this, even in the DPL last year where he scored the most runs, and then he comes onto the scene in the international games and he can't find his feet.
Yeah.
Now that, let's call it popular opinion, now that Nannu is out of the selection committee.
By the way, Nannu selected this squad, so this is
This
is their final squad.
Makes sense. But Naim Sheikh he did select himself for the T20 series. But do you think he's going to be given as long a rope as he was being given all this time when Nannu was selected? A. B. Do you think they're going to persist with Liton, or will they maybe try Shomo and either Naim Sheikh or Bijoy?
Liton must. Liton, I don't think. No, I don't think anyone would drop Liton, because Liton they see as someone like who will serve Bangladesh for a long
Undroppable.
time. Yeah, it's kind of like that because he was like one of the core players and he was in the talks of being a captain. He has even led in some games. So it would raise a lot of eyebrows if he was dropped or rested, in fact,
But how
because
long do you keep picking
But
someone
shouldn't
on
they?
reputation?
you
Yeah.
keep. I think they will keep picking him. I'm not sure about the new selection committee, but pretty sure with his quality, I don't think they're gonna swap him for some
And
more
he won
shake.
them the last
What
T20I that he
quality?
played. So we have to count that as
Hey,
well.
yeah, he did get us over the line. Fair
And
enough.
then he got injured in the next two games. So basically, he won the last game that he played. There's not too much else we can say. But my question to you guys is about Mahmudullah. You know, he didn't get into the T20I national contracts, but he got into the T20I squad. Does that sort of send this clear message that this series is sort of to test him out and to see whether he's ready for that T20 World Cup?
100%. I think the only reason they picked him is because, once again, he's picked himself during the BPL and his approach. I said this with Tamim after the first three games. Tamim sort of had this approach we haven't seen him in a long time, where they do not care what's happening. They will go for it, and they will go for it all out from ball one. Tamim has sort of fallen off since then, but Mahmudullah has been able to do it more consistently than not. And when he does, when he performs like this, and then chief cricket chairman of operations comes ahead and he says, chairman of cricket operations comes
Cricket
ahead and he says,
operation.
oh,
Yeah.
he's an auto choice. As much as Nannu wanted to, sort of throw it away or brush it under the rug, it's up to the coach. Once your boss says he's an auto choice, you can't throw that away. You have to do it, regardless of who wants him or not, regardless of what the coach wants or his personal agenda. So Riyadh has gotten in only on BPL form, and maybe because of what Darrell Yunus said, which sort of became binding. But going forward, they are going to keep him on a short leash, and they're going to wait for him to fail at the earliest just to get rid of him.
And
One
that's
thing we
kind of
have
what
to
works
address,
for Tajul Islam too, I guess.
yeah. So this is something we have to address. At what's his name?
Rakibul,
Taijul coming in place of
oh,
Tanvir again.
Tanvir Islam. Yeah, again. I don't know. I mean, it's a very
How
confusing
much
call.
how much chances have been given to, like, in I'm saying both farmers combined, T20 and ODI, Tanvir Islam and then Rakibul Hassan, like the
Rakibul
left
still
arm
has
Rakibul,
a
spinner.
I
good.
Five
get
games
it.
for
He's
Tanvir
not
back.
making a good case for himself right now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
sort of
but I'm
understand,
just
but
saying, like, the national squad, national side, has he
not too many
performed that
chances.
badly or given too many chances to be dropped? Then isn't it the same old story of you picking a very young player and then giving him high hopes, getting him in the squad, not playing him much, waiting for him to fail? I mean,
Yeah.
playing him so that he will fail, and then just dropping him right away. I mean, what does it do to his confidence?
But is
No.
this BCB trying to? Are they trying to maybe play it safe and not get somebody who is, let's call him raw compared to Taijul, who is a bit more seasoned? Is this BCB playing it safe and not backing Tanvir to the World Cup and preferring Taijul because he's more experienced or he's older in the sense that
Like
he's been playing for a longer
Tanvir,
time
Tanvir, the left arm spinner, he's played what, two T20Is till now? He played that first game where he didn't do
against
too
England?
badly. Yeah.
Yeah, he did all right.
And he was all right. Got dropped.
I think he played two against New Zealand
No, he played one
or
against
one.
New Zealand. Yeah, one
Right, so
against
he's
New
only been
Zealand.
given two chances.
So, and he went for like 12 runs in his first over, opening the bowling in New Zealand as a spinner. So
Nasu
realistically,
went for 20. Nasu went for 30 last night.
like realistically, how is that fair on someone to prove his point or prove his abilities at the highest level? And you can't say, oh, whatever opportunity I give you, you have to make use of it. How is he going to make use of any opportunity if, as a bowler, he's not bowling his quota? Right? Like, makes no sense. Whereas we had this discussion about Taijul, the white ball bowler, what, like last year, the year before that, where he comes, against Zimbabwe and West Indies, he looks like he's the best bowler on the planet. And then against other teams, he's getting swept everywhere, reverse swept everywhere. And BPL comes around, and yeah, he takes wickets in the BPL, but you could say a lot of other people are also taking wickets in the BPL. That doesn't directly translate to international success.
I
Nahid was
think
taking
Tajul
some
is
wickets,
doing
right, in the past few BPLs.
Tajul is doing decent for a left arm slope in ODIs, but I think for T20s, like Ibria said, he's getting swept left, right, and center. So Tajul, maybe he got a recommendation from somebody, if you know what I'm saying. So we don't know what's going on with that. But I think Tanvir should have been their go-to choice leading up to the World Cup because Tanvir, the way that he bowls, at pace, at the batsman, he's a lot more attacking. He'll get the skid, he'll get the odd one to go straight, the quicker one. So Tanvir does give you a lot more kicking opportunities compared to Taijul or even a Nasum who was in contention, who even has the T20 contract but isn't in the
Sohan has a
setup. So,
T20I contract, but not in the
and he
squad.
hasn't played one game in the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any
it
chance
makes
the
you wonder.
contracts were set by the new selectors and this squad was the old selectors, as we know?
Yeah, it could be. It's a possibility. That's a really good shout. Honestly, it's very much possible on it. Yeah, I didn't even consider that, but that's true. And that might tell you how those guys are probably looking at selecting their squads going forward. Bijoy has what, an ODI and T20I contract, or just an
Yeah,
ODI contract?
contract, I
He
don't
did
know,
quite
but
well.
he's in both squads.
Oh no, he has no contract.
Oh, he has no
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 contract.
contract.
contract
No,
for Bija.
he has no contract for him, Shomo Sarkar or Nisha.
Shomo, I'm okay. I'm glad they didn't offer Shomo a contract just off of reputation. He did
Yeah,
have one really good game, but
yeah.
Shomo in the BPL has sort of he's showing glimpses of coming back, which I think going forward,
He scored his
uh,
annual 50 for the BPL.
yeah,
We'll see if he scores more than his annual
right.
50.
If he can hold on to it, but yeah,
It's almost
Rishad,
painful.
it's
Just,
almost.
just just to add on the Shomo topic, it's almost painful that he ends up every time he scores that annual 50 or the annual 250s, it's such a good knock. It always wins his side the game.
Yeah.
Everyone's rooting for him again. Everyone wants him back. And then he does what he does best.
But
Disappoint
he's,
Fair.
he's
everyone.
already back. He's already back. He doesn't need to prove anything to get back into the side. He's got his, godfather in the
Back more
coaching
like
front,
back
so
in
it's fine.
form, back in
Back in.
2015 prime Shomo. You know what I mean?
But it's good to see
Yeah, but
he's continuing some sort of form from the New Zealand series. Like he looked really
better than
good
better
there.
than where he was last year. He was nowhere last year. He couldn't even get bat on ball last year. So at least
Yeah.
Yeah,
he can
he
get
looks
bat on ball now.
much better. He looks like
Yeah,
he's getting there. So hopefully this series will bring the best out of him.
Same with Mohammad Naim.
tough shout.
Yeah, I think it's a
I
shootout.
can't.
This is a shootout
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, you could say yeah.
Whoever
I
does well stays. Whoever doesn't, see you.
I found myself actually rooting for Naim Sheikh for the first time 2 days ago when he went on to play. I was like, I'm excited to watch him back, but let's see how long that lasts.
And then
But like
he
you said, it's gonna be a
skydives
shootout.
slower.
Yep. And then yeah, it was same with Shomo now. We see a couple good hits and we're like, oh okay, maybe they're gonna do something tonight, but they don't. With the two openers, I feel like they might take both of these guys to the World Cup only on reputation. I
Yeah.
think Bijoy might still be in the squad, but he might be like a backup keeper, backup number three kind of a player. I don't think they'll give him the opening spot where he deserves it the most, only because Liton Dash owns it.
Yeah.
Or as Amir Sohel would have said, Liton Dash Kumar.
Amir Sohail at the BPL is a whole different vibe.
So,
The
boys,
PSL photo shoot with Ziaur Rahman 2.0, Shadab Khan with the jersey and jeans pant, that's a whole other vibe.
boys, are we pretty much done for now? It's been a long
Pretty
episode.
done. Yeah, I think
I think
we've
we've
covered
covered pretty
everything.
much everything.
Yeah.
And for more on Bangladesh, especially, I know a lot of our fans want us to talk more on this topic. Do stay tuned to our Facebook page. We will go live again very soon and discuss more in depth both the BPL and the possible impact that it's having on the Sri Lanka tour.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka series. It's
Sri
at
Lanka
home, right?
tour, yes, Sri Lanka is touring Bangladesh, so
Okay.
it's technically a
Not
tour.
not tour of Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka tour.
Sri Lanka tour
Acha,
of
bhai,
Bangladesh.
okay,
Get
okay,
get
okay.
it right. Thank you.
Sri Lanka tour. Okay, okay.
Right, boys. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful video, and we're wishing only Fardin Kibriya a happy Valentine's Day.
But
Okay, it is good
everyone,
that you specified.
I had to. Right, and see you all next week.
see you.
Bye.
Ciao.